Okay, our next segment is called El Norte, and it is the dominant Hispanic culture that influences America today. And it's composed of the borderlands of the Spanish American Empire. It's a place apart from the rest of America. And according to our author, Woodard, Hispanic culture dominates in the area, and the region values independence, self-sufficiency, and hard work above all else. It includes parts of Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, California, are all in the area called El Norte. So way back in 1598, New Mexico was settled by the Spanish, making it the largest and oldest Spanish settlement in the Southwest. So some of its cultural influences that we can see today. In art, they're called sugar skulls. And the skulls are traditionally made of molded sugar and then painted in vibrant colors and patterns. The sugar skulls have become extremely popular in both art and fashion in America, especially around the Halloween season. They are a traditional part of a Mexican holiday called the Day of the Dead, which is a holiday honoring deceased loved ones in Mexico. So the skulls showing up in America in many forms as masks or handicrafts, tattoos, costumes, and art pieces, to name a few. So let's look at some fashion trends inspired by Mexican culture. One is a special kind of design cloth. It's called lace and embroidery. The fashion of wearing lingerie as outerwear and other romantic styles. Female pop artists really promoting that. Ruffles and frills. Designers like Oscar de la Renta and Michael Kors use this in their fashion designs. The bare shoulder look, off-the-shoulder outfits are reminiscent of flamingo-inspired outfits. Flamingo dancing is a famous Spanish dance. About 17 to 20% of the population are Hispanic in America. Let's see. One of the famous musicians that really kind of put Spanish music into mainstream rock and roll was an artist named, stage name, Richie Valens. His real name was Richard Stephen Valenzuela. He was born in 1941, and he dies in 1959. Known professionally as Richie Valens, was an American singer, songwriter, and guitarist. A rock and roll pioneer, and a forefather of the Chicano rock movement. Valens was killed in an airplane crash 8 months into his recording career. He had several hits Number one was a song called La Bamba, which was a mix of English and Spanish language. And it was adapted from an old Mexican folk song. And Valens transformed that song into one with a rock rhythm and beat. It became a big hit in the late 50s, early 60s. And his number two song was a song called Donna. On February 3rd, 1959, what has become known as the day the music died. Valens died in a plane crash in Iowa, an accident that also claimed the lives of fellow musician Buddy Holly and the Big Bopper, two other rock and roll singers. They had just finished a performance and had to get to the next performance, snowstorm. They had one seat left in the plane. Richie was kind of afraid of flying, but he took them up on the offer to take that spare seat, and it didn't end well for all of them. Another influential musician is Carlos Santana, which we talked about at length in our previous series of videos. A female singer, Selena Perez, born in 1971, passes away in 1995. She was an American singer, songwriter, spokesperson, businesswoman, model, actress, and a fashion designer. She was referred to as the Queen of Tejano music, and her contributions to music and fashion made her one of the most celebrated Mexican-American entertainers of the late 20th century. Billboard magazine named her the top-selling Latin artist of the 1990s. Media outlets called her the Tejano Madonna for her clothing choices. And she ranks among the most influential Latin artists of all time, and is credited for placing the music genre into the mainstream market. For television, ABC is a big television network, and they took a what's called a telenovela dramedy. And a dramedy is a comic drama, and they created this TV program called Ugly Betty, and it ran for 4 seasons. And in the past few years, 3 English language shows have been based on the same telenovela format. One of them is called Queen of the South. So you can see that Spanish influence in even English language television programming. But in America, there are several, but the biggest one is called Univision. Is a Spanish language all-day television programming, and it has grown immensely in the United States. One of the reasons is that it does show soccer. It's a huge industry, and it's considered the most popular Spanish language television network in America. They promoted soccer, which made it hugely successful. In the food, we have Mexican food is more popular than ever in American diets. It has definitely gone mainstream over the past 20 years and will continue to grow according to food industry and experts. There is kind of a McDonald's version of Mexican food. It's called Taco Bell, and you can find it all across America. Hugely popular. People are kind of trading in or as a replacement for bread and buns. What's become hugely popular is something called wraps. And wraps are really tortillas, which comes from Mexico. And believe it or not, $2 billion a year in the U.S. alone just last year for the sales of tortillas. Another kind of interesting statistic is baby names. 30% of the top 10 names were Latino names, mostly for girls. Frida, Amia, Naya, Nova, Aminia were considered some of the top Hispanic girl names. Also Sophia and Isabella. The Spanish language is gaining popularity in the United States as a second or third language to be learned. It's basically in every high school as a language option, and probably the most favored choice of high school students in USA is Spanish. In terms of party culture, there is this from Mexico. They take a paper, it's called paper mache, and it's made of thick paper in layers, pasted together, usually formed in the shape of an animal. And at the party, the piñata, it's called a piñata, is hung up, and the contestant or the partygoer is blindfolded. It has a stick, and they have to go find the piñata, and they try to hit it, and inside is filled with candies and sweets. It's for kids' birthday parties, that sort of thing. Another day is a popular party for girls, 15th birthday party. It's kind of a coming out into the adult world that's become popular. And another one is called Cinco de Mayo. It's a giant celebration in the United States, especially in those states that we mentioned, Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, California. And it's a celebration holiday held on May 5th to observe Mexican Army's victory over the French Empire. There's a kind of a fictional character, movies, TV programs, comic books, radio stories, and his name was Zorro. And the story is set during the era of Spanish California from 1769 to 18 21. And it's a character that goes by the name of Zorro. And Zorro in Spanish means fox, like the animal fox. And it's a fictional character created in 1919 by an American pulp fiction writer, Johnston Macaulay. And he's kind of a dashing, masked vigilante who defends the common man and indigenous peoples of California against the corrupt, tyrannical officials and other villains. And his signature is an all-black costume, including a cape and a black hat, and he wears a mask on the upper half of his face, so nobody can know who he is. He has a bounty on his head. The officials don't like him. But he's very skilled and cunning, and he fools the bumbling authorities who try to catch him. And he delights in publicly humiliating them. Because of this, the townspeople started calling him El Zorro due to his fox-like cunning and charm. He's an acrobat. He's an expert in various weapons. But the one he uses most is his sword, which he uses to carve the initial Z on his defeated foes and other objects to sign his work. He's also an accomplished horseback rider, riding his trusty steed, of course, a black horse called Tornado. So Zorro's been around for a long time in many different formats. So as you can see, there are many ways that American culture has been influenced by Mexico. Everything from sports, fashion, baby names, and how Americans party. So that's our little piece on El Norte.